Good morning, grade 6. This is Mr. Ati, your natural science teacher speaking. Today we are going to talk about materials around us. Materials are all around us. Some materials are solids, some are liquids, and some are gases. Material will always be one of these three things. But what exactly are solids, liquids, and gases? Let's investigate the properties of solids, liquids, and gases. When can we say a material is solid? If I move my phone around from place to place in the same room or any room, it will still have the same shape. So we can say solids keep the shape is a property of a solid. The word property has different meanings. Your dad owns the house you live in, so he's the owner of the house. It's his property. When we use the word property in sciences, we look at what makes of matter special. How does it behave different from other materials? Now there are several examples of solids: stone, table, chair, pen, cell phone, car, speaker. Let's imagine that we can shrink ourselves down to the size of such a matter particle. What would we see if we could look around inside a solid? Now, we could see the particles in a solid are packed tightly together. That means that they are very, very close to one another. That's why the solid keeps its shape, because the particles are very close together. We would also see that the particles in the solid have fixed positions. They cannot move from their positions. This explains why solids keep their shape. Here you can see that the particles of the solid is very, very close together. No room, no space between them. Now the next bit is what is a liquid? We use liquids every day, and liquids are all around us. You can name water, cool drink, anything like that. Anything that can flow is a liquid. The characteristics of liquids are liquid exerts pressure in all directions. In other words, you can move downward, upward, sideways. The pressure is the same in all directions at the same depth. The pressure increases with depth. The pressure of a liquid depends on the density of the liquid. A denser liquid exerts more pressure than a less dense liquid. Now we said that the particles in a solid is very close together. If we could shrink ourselves down to the size of a matter particle, we would look around inside a liquid, what would we see? Now, the particles of a liquid are also very close together. Like solids, liquids cannot be compressed either. Unlike solids, the particles of a liquid do not have fixed positions. They are always moving around. This explains why liquids flow to take the shape of their container. Here you can see that the particles in the liquid is not as close together as the liquids of a solid. The liquids, there's more room, a little bit more space between each of these solids. The particles in a gas. If we could shrink ourselves down to the size of a matter particle and we look around inside a gas, what would we see? We would see that the particles in the gas are far apart. The spaces between the particles are huge compared to the size of the particles themselves. These spaces are empty. We call this a vacuum. This explains why gases can be compressed. They can be squeezed into a smaller shape by pushing them closer together. We can make the spaces between them smaller. The particles of a gas are always moving freely. If they are in a closed container, they will spread out to fill the whole container. If they are in an open container, they will not stay inside for long. They will flow out of the container and disperse. Disperse means to spread out over an area or space. Here you can see the particles in a gas. They are very, very far apart from one another, not like the solids and a liquid. Now here are a few questions about solids, liquids and gases. How are the three states of matter different from each other? Is there any difference? How can we draw pictures of the three different states of matter that show how the particles in the matter behave? When matter changes from one state to another, do the particles themselves change or only their behavior? What is needed to make matter change from one state to another and back again? Arrangements of particles. We have learned that matter can exist in three different states: solids, liquids and gases. All the materials around us are in one or more of these three states. For example, you have all three states in your body. Solids, there is a bone in your skeleton. Liquid, there is water in your blood. And gases, there is air in your lungs. We have also learned that each of the states, solids, liquids and gases, has unique properties. Solids keep their shape. Liquids flow and take the shape of their container. Gases also flow and take the shape of the container. They always fill up the whole space of the container and will escape if the container is open. Arrangements of particles. We know when we have a solid or a liquid. It is easy to see a solid or a liquid, but we cannot normally see gases. We can still check that gases are present by seeing their effects. Why do solids keep their shape but liquids and gases flow? Why does the liquid stay inside an open container unless it is poured out, but the gas escapes? We have to look deep inside each for the answer to these questions. We will have to use our imaginations like never before. Did you know that all matter is actually made up of very small particles? These particles are called atoms and molecules, and we will learn more about them much later. For now, we are going to use the term particles to describe the smallest building blocks that matter is made of. The particles that matter is made of are very, very small. Much, much smaller than a tiny grain of sand. Much, much smaller even than a speck of dust. Do you have any idea how small that is? Now, for some practical work, you can go outside your house and see if you can identify solids, liquids and gases. See what you can find outside in your garden around your house. What solids you find, what liquids can you find, and what gases can you find. Well done, grade 6. You worked through the themes solids, liquids and gases. If you want to learn more about this, go to the video clip life cycle. If you're not sure about any of the work, please phone the school, the cell phone number, and I will phone you back. I miss you guys. Keep safe and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.